heat leaders to the first partner convening of Beat the Heat implementation drive, or Mutirão contra o calor extremo. I want to, first of all, thank you for your time and for most of you being at the forefront of climate resilience. It's really a great gathering and a great honor to be part of this collective effort that we are trying to do. So let's move forward and talk about what we're trying to achieve today here. Can we? First of all, let me go through the agenda. So for a few minutes, you will be hearing from His Excellency Adalberto Maluf, who is the Vice Minister at the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change of Brazil. And right after, Lily Rial will talk specifically about, a little more specifically about the Beat the Heat drive and speak about the country and city engagement. Following Lily, Elsa will talk more specifically about how partners can join and contribute. And finally, we're going to have a discussion where we can open up the floor to take questions and to see how you are already trying to envision being part of this, and how we could possibly collaborate to create this so that it's effective and efficient, and what are the next steps that will lead us to COP30, which is going to be the final and closing remarks from His Excellency Adalberto. And so the objectives of the meeting. The objectives of the meeting is to first of all, Adalberto will talk about the big vision and how this was thought, how the whole project started and how it was put together, and what are the milestones and the expected outcomes. The second objective is to make sure that we bring all of the partners and all of these amazing leaders that have been working on cities and working on supporting cities to build heat resilience, highlight initiatives, but also identify synergies and exchange ideas. The third one is to figure out, and this is an important part, how to collaborate and how we can think of providing, how you guys can think of providing technical support and financial or any other kinds of support, like what you're already doing, and how this could be create this kind of effort that we announce and we move forward at COP and after COP. And finally, the next steps. What are the next steps, and how will we make sure that we build momentum that leads to COP30 and after? So next slide, please. All right, without further ado, I would like to give the floor to Adalberto, who is actually one of the leading personalities for climate, and because exactly he's one of the people that has worked both on mitigation and adaptation, and has understood how actually cooling and working with heat in cities brings these two things really urgently together. And he's worked both in greening cities, and he has been working on the energy sector and helping cities deal with mitigation. And he's actually the co-chair of the Global Cooling Pledge, one of the people that immediately understood how important this is. Amazing, Adalberto, Your Excellency, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Eleni. It's a great pleasure, my colleagues, friends, to be here with all of you today. Sorry for the little confusion here we had with two links together at the same time. But it's such a good opportunity for us to be here as the first meeting of this partner convening to launch the Beat the Heat, this mutirão, this Guarani language that means, working together against the extreme heat. And so we know how today it has been challenging throughout both adaptation and implementation, the coordination that all the different levels of government have been doing in relation to not only the extreme weather events, but especially to plan and move forward. And we know also that a lot of cities don't have still the green cooling infrastructure they need. Even cities that have, for example, I come from São Paulo, that more than half of the city is green on the numbers, but most of the downtown area where people live have very little green. So the extreme heat is really pushing it. And most of the partners that are here today that were invited, we are all working together somehow to deliver on the promise of climate change. So for me, this is an important milestone that we bring together such a big range of actors under this unified goal, to turn resiliency, in extreme heat, so that we can deliver something really strong of COP30. The Brazilian COP30's presidency has been focusing a lot on the action agenda to really show the implementation, really move the implementation, so that we have delivery, that we can have justice in the heart of this process. So we hope that extreme heat becomes one of these topics. Belém is a very warm city. Whoever comes there will see it. Extreme heat is definitely one of the most vulnerable and immediate and unequal impact on climate change. So I'm very happy that the Global Cooling Pledge, which already has 70 countries, have been working a while for reducing not only the emission of the refrigerator gases, because also this process to increase temperature will increase a lot the use of the air conditioners and all the refrigerator gases, but also at the same time has been incorporating all the nature-based solutions and urban trees and other processes that can help gather. So at COP29, we had also some announcements that have been done, and we have now a big group of cities and partners that have been supporting the implementation of the cooling pledge. So we want to use the Global Cooling Pledge to be this place that we can bring together all the partners that are here. Some partners already have, different tools, different assessment, digital tools that cities can see. I remember seeing the World Resource Institute with Google's platform. The mayor can go there, he can see very clearly where will be these urban heats, then what type of actions you could do, in order to reduce. So I think it would be something very important for us to see how we can move forward. I think next step, please. Or is there one more? Yes. So then to talk here about the beat the heat, I think we have Camila Valadares from Co-Presidency. If she can just say some quick words. Did she join? Just to say some quick words about the Co-Presidency, the priorities. And then I will explain a little bit more how will be these next steps for the Mutirão against extreme heat. Please, Camila.
Can you hear me?
Yes. We can hear you.
Nice. So I'm Camila Valadares from the mobilization team of the presidents of COP30. And I'd like to welcome everybody, and I'd like to share with you how important this initiative is on the president's agenda, because the president of COP30, Ambassador André Correia do Lago, called everyone for a global mutirão. So this is a huge part of the COP30 legacy. We want to continue for the next conference. And the Beat the Heat is it's a strong call that we believe can be can promote a huge transformation around the world. So welcome, and please feel free to ask me anything else. Adalberto Do you need me to explain anything, something else?
Well, Camila, I think that was enough. We're going to explain the next steps for the partners regarding COP30 multi-round that we are planning to launch. Because today our goal in bringing everybody together, it was mainly to
Great.
have this
Thank you.
first plan. So thank you, Camila. So just to have this first debate, on how can we coordinate our actions and the work that we have already been doing, because some institutions are working with cities, some are working with federal governments, private sector is doing, philanthropy is doing. So we're thinking about a way that we can help the real actors here, that are the mayors that are really planning together with the governors and federal level. So the idea would be to use this mutirão, this guide, for these global cooperative efforts, that we would support mayors that want to do something. So that's basically the idea, kind of unifying countries, mayors, sector, and foster these inclusive bottom-up climate solutions that can not only rebuild trust on the multilateral climate effort, translate COPs into the real-world action, but especially help our cities to protect for the future. So I think I will pass now to our team so that they can follow up with the idea of the call of actions, that initially, well, I think this slide was still mine, sorry, for us, one of the targets, one of the ideas would be to try together and have, the call from at least 500 cities around the world, cities that are suffering, so that we would use extreme heat into this debate of sustainable cities and cooling. For example, Brazil is going to launch next week what we are called the Green Resilient Cities Program. It's a multi-level governance structure between different ministers, governors, states. We are building 600 climate adaptation plans with cities, and we have actions and targets. For example, one will be to increase the green area in cities from 28% to 32%. Then we have all the tools that we will help cities to do. So basically what we plan here will be almost the same thing, kind of bring together as much partners as possible, that we can, gather the different tools that all the partners from multilateral banks, from multilateral institutions, and have some high visibility announcements. Even our idea was to have a big event, bring mayors that then can sign together with presidents, and really, have that picture that will show how these mayors are all committed to move the agenda. But of course, we are very open to hear, so that's why we invited so many partners and institutions and others here, so that we can debate how could it be this call to action of all of us together. Next steps.
Thank you, Adalberto, and thank you, Camila. Also, thanks for your very timely positioning, because this is an effort that basically has started from the COP presidency and has been designed and cooked up by the COP presidency together with the Cool Coalition and Adalberto. And I would like to give the floor now to Lily Rial, who is leading the Cool Coalition Secretariat, and she's been, in a way, the heart behind all of this and the mind behind all of this. Without further ado, Lily Rial will explain to us a little bit more about the road towards co-op and the city and country engagement at the Beat the Heat.
Thanks so much, Lenio. I'm really happy to be here, first of all, with all of you at this first convening of partners to beat the heat. And I think it's really not about having an initiative, but really creating a legacy at COP30 of climate resilience and justice against extreme heat. And in that, I really would like to acknowledge the COP30 presidency and their leadership, and Brazil's leadership in in launching this initiative. And my role is really to share how we can turn this vision of COP30 into action and the roadmap that will carry us from today's convening all the way to COP and beyond. So as we see, obviously, on the slide, and as most of you know, of course, we're all feeling the impacts of extreme heat with each passing year. We see that intensification of the heat. And unfortunately, those without the resources to cope, which is at least 1.2 billion people who don't have any access to cooling, they're, sweating, baking, and dying, particularly in urban settings without sufficient green or cool spaces to take refuge in. And that's why, the UN Secretary General, in his call to action on extreme heat, highlighted that we must respond to this rising challenge of extreme heat, including through massively increasing access to low carbon cooling. And here, that's where we have the Global Cooling Pledge, which is the world's first commitment to increase access to cooling while reducing emissions. And when we say cooling here, it's not about air conditioning our way out of this, as most of you know. It's also about the passive solutions, so the nature-based solutions, the urban design, redesigning our buildings and cities to really be resilient. Next slide. And so that's exactly why we're taking this forward in cities, because that's where the challenge is, but also where the solutions are. And as Adalberto mentioned, in the COP29 cooling ministerial, that's where the idea of Beat the Heat was born. The CEO, Anna Toni, the COP30 president, Anna Toni, she was chairing that meeting, and many of the countries and states really spoke about moving from this global commitment and national pledge commitments on cooling towards implementation from the national to the local level. And that's exactly what we want to do with Beat the Heat. So the Global Cooling Pledge has subnational commitments, which are calling on 3 areas of action. And that's on urban heat island assessments and action plans. It's on implementing nature-based and passive cooling projects. And it's also about the public procurement of efficient cooling technologies and building codes. So that's really how we hope that we can turn this national commitments into local action, but not only national commitments from the pledge signatories, but also inviting all cities and all countries to join this effort. So as Adalberto said, the Global Cooling Pledge provides a springboard because 70 countries already committed to do this, and they've committed to actually invite their cities to work with them to take action on heat at the local level. So really addressing this national to local kind of collaboration. But of course, 70 countries is not 192 countries, and is not, the billions of cities that face this challenge. And so we are, opening this to all cities and countries to join, and all partners, and our pathway is quite clear. The first is, there'll be a letter that will be shared, and where the COP30 presidency will invite all countries to invite cities. And at the same time, there'll be a letter to partners inviting their cities and also joining themselves to celebrate and support ongoing city efforts. So the first step is really joining the Beat the Heat initiative as a country or as a partner. The second step is, putting forward any kind of requests where there is a request needed for technical support through a solutions platform that we will be that we've created and we'll take you through. And the third step is really implementation. So here the idea is really connecting cities and partners together for implementation, and also supporting in providing technical assistance to cities with a particular focus on heat assessments and plans as a community. So together with this community. And finally, of course, it's sharing and collaborating and celebrating the results and trying to build the community to scale these practices around the world at COP30 and afterwards. So hopefully, step by step, we can show the world that national targets and strategies and commitments are not just on paper, but they can really be implemented on the ground and in collaboration from national to the local scale. And I invite all of you as the partners here today to help us make this Mutirao a reality by bringing cities on board, offering your expertise and resources, and really helping us celebrate and scale what works at COP30. So back to you, Lenio. Thanks.
Thank you, Lily. And the floor now goes to Elsa Lefebvre, who is going to talk about how to more about the partner's role and how to join and contribute. Elsa is the program manager of UNEP and one, again, of the brains who is behind this architecture. Elsa, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Lenio, and good morning, good afternoon, everyone. So I think we mentioned it several times, like that we are conceiving this as a collective effort. So that this is not really a top-down program, and there is really like first space to shape this effort together, and then also that everyone's contribution is recognized, and there is really a role at the country level, at the city level, at the organizational level to really like each bring their own strengths to the table. So if we look at this slide, we just wanted to try and define a bit the structure of like the different roles, like more as a way to try to unpack a bit what this means. So we've been convening this call to get today as co-lead as a coordination role with Brazil and the COP30 presidency, and as UNEP with the Cool Coalition that acts as the Secretariat of the Global Cooling Pledge. And then there is this, what we hope, a large group of partners, including hopefully all of you that are to help with the support, the capacity building, the resources, bringing what you are doing to the table. And we've listed a few of them with whom we have had also already some exchange, and many of you are here today. And we hope there are also more to come. Then, of course, and it's the central point, there are the cities themselves with the local action, the implementation, and the leadership. And there is already a group of cities that have committed to work on this, particularly those that signed the subnational cooling pledge. They are on the slides. And then, as Lily explained, there is a process that's starting in terms of having the countries, the signatories of the pledge, bringing on board also a number of their cities. And hopefully you can also help us bring cities yourself, the one that you've been supporting, working with already on the topic. And finally, I mentioned them already, the countries, they have this, as this is about implementing also the global cooling pledge, they will be really critical in also bringing cities on board and providing them with the enabling environment to work on this, like through the multi-level governance processes. Next slide, please. So in terms of the role, and we've mentioned that it was more as an intent to summarize this. So of course, I mean, there is the aspect now in the next couple of weeks to help us co-develop this implementation drive and shape like also the how it functions and what support can be provided to the cities, and inviting cities that you work with to join. And then moving forward, it's also about helping with the implementation. And as Lily mentioned, there is this initial focus on really trying to offer to a large number of cities the fact that they can do heat assessments if they haven't done one, and then moving towards planning and the capacity building. Hopefully as well, and this is something that has been discussed with some of you, there is also the contributing with the implementation and financial contributions, as well as for financial institutions themselves, the possibility to be, opening new lending lines, new credit lines, etc. So this is kind of an overview of all the type of contributions that can be outlined. And next slide, please. How to join, just very simply, I mean, it's not a very formal process. You can either send us through email an expression of interest to confirming that you are interested to join. Some of you have already done it. Send to the COP presidency and the coalition email an outline of your interest and where you see your contribution. And we also have a registration form if it's easier for you, and you can find the link here. We'll paste it in the chat and send it by email as well. That's it for me. Thank you very much. And I hand over to you, Lenio, for the most interesting part of the call.
Thank you, Elsa. So this whole call was to basically try to, first of all, hear for more specifically what this is all about from Adalberto and the UNEP colleagues, and basically hear a couple of words also from the COP presidency, who is really pushing this forward as one of the flagship initiatives for November. But the main thing is to hear a little bit from you, to hear a little bit about what are the ways that you have been working with cities and how you feel like this could be something that we could all bring different tools and different types of support so that we can create a portfolio, actually a platform where we put everything together in order to support cities. So the idea is that we're building, not the idea, what is happening is that we're building a platform called the EPIC platform, which will have which will bring together, first of all, what, as my colleague said before, first of all, what are the desires and the needs and the challenges that the cities are facing with specific asks, and then another platform, which is what are the different ways that partners can support cities. So this is trying to put together the needs and what is at offer. And but also another part of this effort is to celebrate what we have already been doing for cities, both as countries that have done really great, have figured out really great ways to support cities in their heat resilience building, but also how different partners have built programs that are already working with cities. So this is part of it is to celebrate, and part of it is to create like a more engagement and more effort to implement. So the steps are, the key milestones for the roadmap to COP30 is, first of all, this is we have created a letter that is going to all of the different countries, asking them to nominate at least one city for Beat the Heat, for the Beat the Heat implementation drive, and cities are asked also to come in and let us know what exactly is the type of challenge that they would like to be dealt with, to be supported on. The second thing, the second landmark is in the second half of September, and this is really important to keep it in mind, is that there's going to be a high-level meeting that will be convened by the COP30 presidency, where the CEOs of all of the different organizations will be called to also participate, and there we will start again more specific discussions about how what are the ways that we can actually push implementation and drive the efforts of cities forward by making sure that they can build the type of actions that they need, the type of policies and the type of projects on the ground that they need to deal with rising heat. And then in September, in in UNGA, in the UN General Assembly, and during the climate summit, Adalberto will be at the General Assembly and will be participating at the Secretary General's, with the Secretary General's climate team and other partners to start talking and presenting the Beat the Heat effort parallel to which will be part of the next steps of the Secretary General's call to action on extreme heat. So this will be a meeting during the General Assembly. Then in the beginning of November, we expect to do the first launch of the Beat the Heat for Cities during the local leaders forum. And then finally, we build up to the ministerial, to the COP30 ministerial, where we will have probably as part in the beginning of the ministerial a meeting with local leaders, also to make sure that there is kind of this coordination between the different levels of government for this particular effort for cooling solutions and beating the heat. So I've said enough. I think this is the time to give the floor to you and to ask you how you are thinking, or how do you think it would make sense to contribute to this collective effort from your experience and from your efforts already, or what could it be that you can envision as an offer or as a kind of support that you could be building until the next meetings, that we will kind of make it more concrete for the Beat the Heat in Cities, and also what forms of technical international support are, in your perspective, from your perspective, the most critical for countries and cities. So I would love to give the floor to a couple of people that have already we have already talked with about this, and I'm wondering if I could just start. I mean, it would be great if people want to jump in, but I could just also call somebody from WRI to come and say a couple of words about the work that they've been doing and how they're thinking of participating in this effort. Eric, maybe you could say a couple of words just to start us off.
Sure, happy to. I have a few other colleagues on the line, including Pablo Lazo, who leads our urban development team. I'm Eric Macris. I lead our urban analytics and data innovation team in the WRI Ross Center for Sustainable Cities. And among that portfolio, I lead our work on urban heat and data. We are doing a lot of work in this space, so I'm going to give a quick tour and then dive into some things that I think are particularly relevant to Beat the Heat initiative. So we have a large focus on kind of passive cooling approaches to addressing heat, including in the ambient environment, outdoor, and work on indoor cooling through two different teams. And in addition to what our focus has been very heavily focused on data, but we've also been coupling our work on data and measurement of risks, assessment of opportunities, and tools to help with developing plans, with efforts on project investment, assistance, and then technical assistance. So I'll mention a few of those too. Our core data-focused work is around what we're calling data for cool cities. It's built around this idea that we have identified that cities are looking for data and analysis, as they have identified it as a major barrier for making the case and actually getting investment in passive cooling and cooling infrastructure-based cooling. So we've engaged with dozens of cities over the past 2 years to understand their detailed data needs, and then to put those needs into our research and development plan, which has focused on developing key data sets around land use, albedo, and tree cover, and being able to adapt the best science and to be able to make sure we're able to develop and use data on those key inputs to understanding heat risks anywhere in the world, to be able to kind of level the playing field and make it possible for any city to have access to these sort of best-in-class assessments at low cost and without requiring kind of bespoke consulting. And so the one of the key products out of that process is what's called the Cool Cities Lab. It's an online platform that helps cities with baselining, heat risk analysis, and scenario planning. And it provides the ability to simulate the impact of, right now, we're including 3 different kinds of passive cooling interventions: tree planting, cool roofs, and shade structures. And we through the tool, cities are able to look at the impact of different scenarios, spatial scenarios of implementing those different interventions, and see what the impacts on thermal stress looks like in their city. If I implement this, here's what the change in temperature and other indicators will be, and where in the city. And this modeling system, is, as I mentioned, is now possible to implement anywhere in the world. Currently, we're working with closed beta testers with some of our core city partners. And the plan is right now is to launch it publicly in early 2026 and make it available as a kind of on-demand offer. As cities request interest in it, they would then be able to be added and to have data generated for their cities. So that's our kind of core data offer. And just to mention a few other things, we're also right now working on a project investment accelerator focusing specifically on urban heat solutions in Brazil. And this is around working with city decision makers to help them do project preparation specifically around urban heat solutions. So the call for participating cities just closed on that, and we'll be announcing the cities that will be participating in that in the next few weeks. And that's going to run through the next year. And we see it as a model to hopefully enable this kind of accelerated project investment in heat-related projects that can be scaled to other countries and other platforms. And then finally, just the last thing to mention is our broader platform on sustainable development technical assistance for cities. The partnership with C40, ICLE, and others called Urban Shift. That is an initiative where we've also run several workshops with cities focused on heat and helping them to assess, their risks, their opportunities, and working with partners in their community to figure out what their path forward is.
And maybe that could be an architecture that could be used going forward, Eric. Is this what you're thinking?
Yes, I think all of these initiatives and their connections between them are things that we would love to partner with Beat the Heat to scale up.
Super. I think these are exactly the type of support that can be scaled up fast and that cities are very much in need for. So this is really great. And I think just because you mentioned that, because of course they're such a leader in this space, I would like to invite, first of all, to say hello to Amy that we haven't seen for a very long time. Amy, welcome back. It's so nice to see you. And give the floor to C40. I don't know if Amanda wants to speak and tell us a little bit about what C40 is cooking up and what you're launching at COP, and how maybe we can kind of make this part of this big effort to make sure that cities understand that there's a lot of support out there for them.
Wonderful. Thanks, Lenio. And yes, I would love to pass the microphone to Amy, but she's just returned from a an extended leave 2 days ago. So I think all of this is still new. Everything that you guys have been cooking up and planning and all this exciting stuff is still new to her. So let's give her a little bit of time, but then she will be our C40 head of heat, returned, long awaited, and I'm sure familiar to many of you. And I also just wanted to say hello, Adalberto. It's been a long time since I've seen you, my friend, but it's great to connect. And Lenio, Lily, I mean, Eric, so many people on this call. So it's great to be here. And you can see, I think we have like 10 people from C40 here on this call. So we're committed. We would love to support this work and this campaign and explore with you guys how best we can do that. I think there's a number of areas that we'll put forward and we can work out what is the best value add, given many of these other partners also have strengths in some of these areas. But I think probably first and foremost is the political alignment and the political momentum that we're seeing from at least our C40 member cities. Of course, our C40 member cities only represent 100 or so of the world's cities. And I know this campaign is really looking at reaching thousands, right? But again, our member base is mostly the world's largest cities, generally those that are the national capitals or the economic capitals of countries, and that tend to have more resource, right, and more capacity. And so we, for now 12, 13 years, have been working with our member cities on managing urban heat, preparing for urban heat in many of these areas that we discussed. And I see Kurt Schickman on the call, and I always want to give my hat off to him for bringing this great idea to C40 in 2012, I think. So, so there's so many connections here on this call. I do want to say we are now, as many of you are seeing in your work, no longer just planning for climate change, but already helping our cities manage the impact. So our heat work, particularly in heat support to cities, has really gone into overdrive in the last 2 years or so, I think for many of you as well. And we are continuing with technical assistance to our member cities in a number of thematic areas to address urban heat, working with many of the partners also on this call. The thing I want to mention that's the political piece that I think there's an opportunity for alignment here is that we are planning to launch what we call also an accelerator. So sorry, WRI, I know our words and the terminology doesn't exactly sync up, but what we call an accelerator at C40 is a mayoral declaration and a mayoral pledge from our member cities with very strong and tight deliverables that we hold them accountable to. We have built upon the foundation that you guys have set also with the cooling pledge and built those 3 thematic areas into the Cool Cities Accelerator. So thank you for that ground setting work. And so for both the heat action planning, nature-based solutions for cooling, and the procurement piece, we've tried to build that also into what we're asking our cities for. And we've added more because we consider our cities the leading cities. I know it's up for debate, but we like to call ourselves the C40 Climate Leadership Group. We want to ask them to do more. So I'd love to share with you, not here because it's too detailed, but via email and sharing what we're planning for the Cool Cities Accelerator. And it's a very robust and strong commitment from cities, again, that we will hold them accountable to. Many of our cities will need support from the national governments and from all of the partners on the call, so we are not doing this in isolation. And that's where we're also looking for partnership. I think in alignment with the Beat the Heat, in addition to the Cool Coalition and the Cooling Pledge, we will be launching this accelerator, Cool Cities Accelerator, at our World Mayors Summit, which is part of the Local Action Forum that will take place in Rio the week before COP30 officially kicks off. So this is part of actually, it will be the opening plenary. It will be one of the main 2 or 3 events that C40 is providing is this Cool Cities Accelerator. Already, Mayor Paes from Rio, a number of other Brazilian cities, Mayor Aki Sawyer from Freetown, which I know many of you are familiar with as a real heat champion, and 15 to 20 other mayors will collectively announce their commitment. And I think it really supports the Beat the Heat campaign. And so generally, I'd love to offer our resources. We are doing things more at the technical level with data and mapping in China and India, soon to start. We're also in Brazil. We are working on nature-based solutions. I think probably our Brazilian colleagues will know we're part of the campaign with GCOM to support nature-based solutions for cooling and providing finance and city budget allocation support and analysis as well in terms of governance and procurement. So there's many areas. I think we just need to parse out where we're most valuable. But I think the next big piece is the political alignment with the local action summit leading to COP30 and how we can bridge these stories together. We also would love to have a representative from the Beat the Heat, whether it's the COP president or Adalberto or someone on our world mayor's stage to announce this hand in hand, because we do see this also as a critical piece to achieving the CHAMP coalition from the local level. So I'll stop there. I know that's a lot, and Lenio and others, I leave it to you if there's any area for questions or anything like that.
Amanda, it sounds great, and I think the accelerator is a great effort because we often do not have targets. So the fact that C40 is creating these targets that are, we're not talking about policies and action plans, but actually how can we actually create targets that we can help cities have a vision, but also have specific kind of things to work towards. It's really, really great. So thank you for this. And I think we can somehow figure out how to expand that possibly to cities more than C40. I know that, anyway, I'll stop talking because there's a lot to talk about. I would like to give the floor to Mayumi from MAP Biomass, and then to Pat Humans from Esri, and then to Javier Garduno. And let's go like that. Mayumi, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much to the opportunity to be here and share all these ideas and join this effort to beat heat in a global scale. MAP Biomas is a project, and it's a project made by universities, startups, and also NGOs. We are committed to produce data for our countries. So we are Brazilian, we produce data for Brazil. MAP Biomas have expanded in the last years for 14 countries, and each country has its own team producing their data. We mainly produce land use, land cover data in the temporal series. So now our main product is the collection 10, land use, land cover for Brazil from 1985 to 2024. We just launched a new platform of this data. And in this platform, all the data is free, and you can see the data, you can download the statistics, but also you can reproduce our methods to get this data. Specifically for the cities, we launched last year a platform as a part of the platform is for urban data. So we have launched a specific space on our platform to deal with urban data. So we have the urban area in Brazil for the land for this time series. We also have some data to support the decisions makers about risk in the cities. So we have areas that are slums, are areas that are under any kind of risk, landslide or flooding. And we also have launched for the first time the vegetation in the cities. Besides all the effort that we do to produce this data in a manner that it's open and reproducible for all the countries that are, or all the teams around the world, we also receive some demands from society, and sometimes it becomes a data set. So I'm gonna share two examples here. We've been an NGO called Formigas de Imbaúba, who plants tiny forests in public schools. They reached us asking for our support to produce data to know where they could plant the tiny forests in São Paulo city. That was a very successful example how can we direct our efforts to a specific objective. Also, another example is from Alana, which is an NGO in Brazil, and they asked us to map all the green vegetation inside schools in Brazil. So this was also a major effort that we done specific to this request. And from this, they could made a huge campaign in Brazil claiming or stating the characteristics of the schools, how they are how the schools were in terms of vegetation, green vegetation, which is a nature-based solution, but also the heat islands. So we get some not a good panorama of the city's characteristics, but also it helped them to go to the media, to go to the parliament, to ask for new solutions.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I could go over some other examples, but I would just like to sum up saying that we are this kind of network that are open for all these demands and all these to join efforts. This is our DNA.
Super, Mayumi. Thank you very much. And
Lenio, if I can just, before we move, can I just come in
Yes.
for 1 sec?
Yes,
Thanks.
yes,
Yeah.
of course.
I just wanted to first say, Mayumi, thank you so much. I mean, I know we've been speaking with you about how maybe Map Biome can support other countries, cities in other countries in the Latin American region to do heat mapping. I know that there were some discussions also with the India team that we have doing heat mapping on how we can exchange and translate that to other cities that join Beat the Heat. So thank you for all the work you're doing on heat mapping. And then Mandy and Eric, just to come back, I mean, because these discussions are really about, like, we have an opportunity here. We're all working really tirelessly on the ground about this topic. We want it to be in the center. And here we have with us Camila from the COP presidency. We have Alberto, you know, we have big champions from Brazil. So I think we can unlock all together.
And countries.
And countries from the pledge and others. And so we can really unlock a lot. That I think we need to see how we're going to create a pipeline together to support. And so for example, Eric, can the Cool Cities platform you're referring to of WRI, could you make an announcement at COP that you'll support, 100 Beat the Heat cities with that? Mandy, could you be having the accelerator cities joining Beat the Heat? And they can be the ones that C40 announces that they'll support. And you can stand at the local leaders summit with the COP president and say, C40 is going to support, 100 Beat the Heat cities, through our accelerator, and you announce that, because it's about bringing it together and somehow scaling it and making it so that we can reach what, Camila or Alberto or the COP president always says, 500 cities, 1,000 cities, because the challenge is so big, right?
Yeah.
So just wanted to step in and say, like, I think I heard you, Mandy, saying that the targets have been aligned between the accelerator and Beat the Heat. That's great. I know we had this chat like months ago, and also with Lenio. So if that's the case, then maybe that's a great thing we could do is see how to align that outreach to the cities and see how C40 could come in with that big announcement that, this will be supporting COP presidency on this Beat the Heat through your accelerator. So just wanted to throw that in and kind of get us to think big. I think in the next step, the COP presidency will convene and try to invite your heads of organization. So this is sort of like a preparatory call to discuss together, what do you guys think who are working on the ground, so that when the heads of your organizations get the invitation, they're ready to come to the table with some big announcements, whether it's at UNGA or it's at local leaders summit or it's at COP. So just wanted to throw that in there and also just say thank you to all of you who've spoken so far. And back over to you, Lenio, and the others who are speaking.
And this is the perfect introduction for bringing in Pat to this discussion, because we've been talking about how exactly to scale up this effort for cities, which everybody has been talking about, to create data and mapping of vulnerability and exposure, and figure out how to communicate that to leaders, and also what kind of solutions can be kind of coming in. So this is an effort that we still have hundreds, thousands and thousands of cities that need this kind of support that do not have it right now. And Pat from Esri, can you talk a little bit to us what Esri has been thinking about this?
Yes, thank you, Lenio. We're excited to be on this call and excited to bring so many motivated, inspiring partners together here. As Lenio said, I'm with Esri. We're a GIS software company, and we really focus on how to make it easier for organizations all around the world to access and use spatial data and analytics to inform their decisions. There's a lot of data out there, and it's getting easier and easier to use. We want to make it even easier. We know that heat has been and will be for a persistent issue going forward. So we've been working to create a number of solutions, organizing data and creating solutions that help communities bring that information together in indices to help set priorities, to help build their resilience actions. And we'd like to help scale that up to make it easier for many more cities and countries to do that, to create these tools, to have them, to make them accessible to them, to work right into their kind of their workflows, their thought process, where they can understand their heat vulnerability to inform their action plans. We've already partnered with Lenio, with UNEP, with GCOM to create the Keep Cool, kind of a hub platform to bring together a lot of these resources, and also have plans to couple that with the capacity development. We all know that it's not if you build it, they will come. If you build it, you need to teach them how to use it and how to apply it and how they can actually jumpstart their work, to not be intimidated and think that they don't have anything to start with. So we've been working on a lot of these technology kind of solutions, starting in the US, working with cities and states here to understand some patterns. We've already created for the entire US kind of an indexes on where's the best place, because different interventions are needed in different places, and where the best place to put to focus your tree planting may not be the best place to do your cool surface application, or where to stand up pop-up cooling stations. So we've already created those indices for the US, working with the data that we have available here. We're also looking now at how do we scale that? What global data can we use to create these same templates and tools that would make it easier for any city to get started, to have a baseline to get started? And then kind of scaling the other way, we've also been working with cities where they've been engaging, oftentimes partnering with NOAA to do heat island kind of data collection, very specific for their cities, where they bike around the cities in the mornings, the afternoons, collect that data. So we get very fine scale data, mid-level at a US level, and then also looking at global data and putting these into these jumpstart templates and tools that are shared through platforms like the cool kind of the cool cities or the Keep Cool platform. And I think this complements what you're all talking about there. There's no one solution, but if we can bring all of our skills and our resources together in an easily accessible and understandable way, and couple it with these with the capacity development training tools, whether it's workshops, targeted workshops in a region. We've also been running MOOCs, the massive open online courses on GIS for climate action, and we have run that 3 times. We've had 30,000 people, I think, sign up for each one of those sessions. So we're looking at some kind of a hybrid there that focuses just on extreme heat that could get the tools and the training into the hands of people that need it. So we have lots of examples, lots of experience, and just looking at how we scale that. And I think the only way to scale it is through partnerships like this to scale effectively. So we're happy to be part of this. And I do have two colleagues on the line here, Steve Cope, who's on the technical side, and Carmel, many of you probably know through her engagements with the UN. So we're all in on this.
Hi, Carmel.
Thank you.
Lovely to see you. Thank you, Pat. Thank you very much. And Javier, can you, because I don't know which organization you are from, can you
Resilient
tell us?
Cities Network, Lenio.
Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you very much for this opportunity to contribute. At Resilient Cities Network, we see extreme heat as one of the most urgent challenges for resilience, and we are engaging our member cities through two main lines of work. First, we are advancing this agenda through our community of practice on climate health and equity, which brings together over 25 cities from across our network. Extreme heat is one of the core themes we address in this space. In fact, within the coming weeks, we are hosting a series of thematic sessions where cities share and discuss their own solutions. For example, Rio de Janeiro will present in a coming session in the September 17 what they are doing on the extreme heat protocol, which is an important case of local innovation with global relevance. And secondly, we are working on practical interventions through our Oasis Schoolyard program. Right. This initiative transforms paved schoolyards into green climate resilience community spaces that reduce heat risk while also supporting children's health and learning. So we are now exploring ways to adapt and scale this model to other cities in our network, with particular focus on Latin America. So we are happy to discuss with all of you how can we scale up these initiatives, working in networks, and collaborate with all of you and try to be part of this initiative. So thanks again for the opportunity, and happy to keep this momentum and the conversation through our participation in Belém and in Rio through the C40 Mayor Summit.
Fantastic. Thank you, Javier. Thank you very much, and looking forward to discussing about how we can move this forward, this collaboration. I love, as you know, it's my alma mater in a way, the RCN. But without further ado, I would love to give the floor to Julie Arigi, who is one of the totally very first amazing women that started focusing on heat from IFRC, in creating incredible tools and helping people all around the world survive this. Julie, I am so happy you are here. The floor is yours.
Oh, thank you so much. And that's such a kind introduction as well. I really appreciate that, and working with you over the years as well. I'm also joined on the call by two additional Red Cross Red Crescent colleagues as well, both Ella and Mary, who are here as well with urban and policy expertise, which is a great team to be on the call together. So very briefly, as the Red Cross Red Crescent, we have a pretty large ambition on heat, like many of the partners here, but our goal is to reach 100 million people by 2030. And I think we have a really unique position in this goal in that we're auxiliary to national governments. And so we can work very well and very closely together with city level counterparts, especially from that disaster management lens, as well as our health work. So a couple of things that we engage in are Red Cross Red Crescent societies, which are in 191 countries. Some of them, or many of them, are working on pre-heat actions like heat action plans and early warning systems with Met agencies. It will vary country by country, but there is work going on around the world on that, as well as response during extreme heat events. So that can be things like communication campaigns, or it will really then vary country by country. Maybe some are doing, lifeguarding on beaches, or others are doing telephone hotlines and these sorts of things. But a lot of those response efforts during heat events. So we really bring in that strong link to the community level, and that could be a nice also interplay with some of the mapping and data efforts that have been mentioned already of partners to bring in that community connection as a supplement. And then very briefly, our network, in addition to that very practical underground work, is also, like Lenio mentioned, engaged in guidance material development and research efforts. We also lead an annual Heat Action Day, which is an awareness raising event that many of you have partnered with as well. And we're part of a couple of the key alliances that are also in the mix, the Global Heat Health Information Network and the Extreme Heat Resilience Alliance. Coming up, another possible connection for us to keep in mind would be that our IFRC Secretary General will be at the UNSG's high-level climate event. It's being convened, and Mary has more detail on that if anyone would like further information.
Yes.
And we recently launched a flagship report on risk perceptions, which again is really looking at community level link. So that's just a quick landscape of some things, and basically really keen to collaborate and look forward to how we can work together on this.
Super. Thank you, Julie. And I will quickly go to Carlene Rebecca Mann, and I don't remember again which organization you represent.
That's
Carlene.
okay. Thank you so much, Alina. So I'm Carlin Mann. I'm with the World Bank. I'm a senior economist there. So my boss, Nicholas Jones, was unable to make it to this meeting, so he sent me instead. So I'm with the Global Facility for Disaster Reduction or Disaster Risk and Recovery, and we're really focusing and trying to really emphasize all of the work that we've been doing on extreme heat. So I wanted just to run through a couple of things, but there's a lot of different things we're working across the bank with extreme heat, whether it be in education and health and social protection and infrastructure and energy. So we do have a series of unlivable studies that we have created. And so these are really offering kind of practical insights on how cities in different types of regions. So we have one right now that's focused on East Asia. We have another one coming out soon, focused in the Latin Americas and the Caribbean. We're also working on one for South Africa as well, to really try to find ways to combat extreme heat with a really nice framework that focuses on people, places, infrastructure, and institutions. So really trying to be very holistic and comprehensive in the different types of interventions that can come into play, and really emphasizing the importance on local implementations and interventions, in addition to just like kind of regional contexts. Another set of work that we're doing is actually around the data aspect and really like heat data and doing heat risk assessments in cities. So actually employing communities across different cities to really do these kinds of heat maps, and collecting data, real-time data that then can feed into these heat action plans that cities are developing. So it's really allowing them to have first that assessment and what are the risks and how it changes at a very localized level, depending on different types of areas within a city. You can have huge variations of heat risk and huge variations of heat in degrees on a same day, especially when there's an extreme heat event. So really trying to armor these city officials with the right data to then be able to say, okay, these are the areas of where we need to focus on creating, doing more tree planting, having cooler roofs, like those kinds of things, like so that the interventions are a little bit more localized as well as kind of looking more broadly. We're also partnered with, it's a World Bank initiative on safer schools. So really trying to look at how we can be more effective in cooling schools so that, schools don't close down, kids continue their education, they're safer for them to be able to study in and kind of continue their livelihoods for children. So we're pilot testing some work on that. So there's like a whole slew of different things. We're working with social protection and how we could do like adaptive social protection kind of activities on extreme heat. There's more coming, hopefully, on that down the pipe. So we're really working across a lot of different sectors, putting together a lot of publications, a lot of work, and also trying to focus on really trying to create the data, but at a really localized level for these cities to be able to effectively plan better.
Thank you, Carlene. And I know Tjark is also on the call, and I just want to give a big congratulations to you guys for putting together the heat handbook that just came out yesterday. And it's co-branded with UNEP and UN Habitat. So this is something that we're very, very, very proud of and very happy because it's really a great, very much directed to city administrators and city officials to take forward and very kind of concrete steps on how to plan for extreme heat and build different initiatives. So thank you very much to the World Bank, and we do hope that we figure out a way to move forward with assessments and work together and have you participate in this effort. Very much looking forward to that. And I would also like to give the floor to Ikli and to Kobe Brandt. And afterwards, I don't know if also Martin wants to say a couple of words from Geo, but it would be great to hear him. I know you were probably, he came in, he was probably caught up in things, but if you want, Martin, would love to hear from you a little bit as well. Kobe, floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Eleni. And Lily, everybody that's organized this, I think this is a real opportune moment for us to connect on this very big topic. Of course, I don't want to repeat everything that's been said, but basically we are in the same business and we are doing with our cities many of the same things that all of you have already mentioned. So of course, you know, Amanda, you mentioned C40 is working with 100 biggest cities. Many of them are also ICLEI members. We also work collaboratively with C40 on many of these aspects on the ground in these cities, but with many more. And ICLEI's got I think between 2,500 and 2,700 members at the moment, and each one of those cities, large and small, are doing something around heat. You know, and we don't have a unified program or steps that they have to follow to address heat. We really go to them and their needs and address it on a case-by-case basis. So we do very varied things. Some cities are very sophisticated when it comes to monitoring and data and so on. Others simply do not have the means or the capacity or the funds to do any of that, yet they still can take action, and they do take action on many levels. And we support. A whole lot of what we do is to provide enabling environments to connect them closer to access to subnational governance financing for their projects. And many of these projects that they are implementing or looking for funds to implement address heat as part of the issues, whether they've got sophisticated data or very little data. So I think a lot of our work focuses on nature-based solutions, but a lot of it also on, with partners like you and Habitat, on how we build cities for the future. In many parts of the world, like where I'm from in Africa, our cities are expanding rapidly, and today's small town is tomorrow's big city. That's where we can make a lot of impact, because that infrastructure build has yet to take place, and it's much easier to build directly from the beginning than to retrofit and break down. You know, once the concrete is there, it's there. But I would like to say that ICLEI, of course, I'm very delighted to be on the Cool Coalition Steering Committee representing ICLEI there. Rohit, my colleague, is here at a technical level. We are delighted to be part of this initiative. I think we can contribute in many different ways.
Great.
And one would be, I just want to say, one would be through Cities with Nature, which is also a partnership which includes many of you and which is UN recognized. So we could come on board in many different ways. And I'd like to unpack that with some of the partners that spoke here on how we can do that. But I would like to say you asked for one big challenge and one big question is around financing. Cities often know what to do, but they do not have the means and the finances available to do.
So maybe Kobe, that would be a great sector for ICLEI to actually offer support for cities to figure out how to finance different, especially nature-based solutions, which is really, really difficult. So maybe this could be something that ICLEI participates in. But I'm leaving this to you to think about it. I'm sorry, I'm rushing a little bit because we have little time left. I want Zoni to speak, because Zoni is another incredible woman leader for heat and gender. She's one of the most important people that I've met that has been focusing on gender and the particular type of vulnerability that women face with extreme heat. Zoni is from the Asian Development Bank, and Zoni, I'm so glad to see you here.
It's really great to be here and really to hear about all the amazing work that everyone is doing. It's quite late in Manila, so it's after 11. So that's why, at least that's my excuse for looking slightly disheveled at this hour. But just
You look
wanted
great.
to very, thank you. But just very briefly wanted to share that, as ADB, we've been working with this mostly from the Gender Equality Division, really looking at the specific impacts that extreme heat is having on women in the cities and communities in our region. For a long time, we've worked on sort of livable and resilient cities sort of agenda. So it's really kind of an opportunity for us to expand sort of on that work. It's an issue that I think for even in our heat action planning has been missing in terms of looking at women's specific vulnerabilities, but not only their vulnerabilities, but how they can be engaged as agents of change in terms of creating heat resilient communities. We've been focusing on generating data, knowledge, identifying sort of demonstration projects, expanding sort of our coverage through our already existing investments in ADB countries, whether that is in housing, investment projects, or education, working in schools, or agriculture, and so on. So we've been quite busy, but we would really welcome an opportunity to really enhance sort of the focus on sort of those that communities that are most affected, that experience risk differently and have different vulnerabilities, but also how we can engage them in terms of building resilience at the city level. So I'll stop there because I know you are limited in time, but just really great to be here in this space and look forward to collaborating with all of you.
Thank you. Thanks, Zoni. And Rasmin Music, I think, is the last person that we should listen to. Last but not least, Rasmin, go ahead.
Very happy to chat with all of you. So I put my introductions earlier. I'm the global cooling lead for IFC. So we're the private sector arm of the World Bank, and we have an ongoing sustainable cooling program. But on the cities work, that program is going to be implemented through a program we call APEX, where we work with cities to actually help them understand their needs. I'm going to try to share the screen because I think this is going to be good for you to see. So what APEX is ultimately doing is helping all of these cities understand how to monetize all of this work, so that some of the pieces are coming. This is a action plan from Kazon. So we work with them. Yeah, we work with them to understand what it is that they want to do. If they have a plan, then we can do a deeper analysis of that plan. If they don't have a plan, we can get them started. But where I think that the real value add for IFC is to then marry that technical aspect with the financial aspect to help the city understand. You can see things like how much is going to go through municipal direct investment, how much needs to be public policy, how much needs to be incentives for banks, to really kind of get the finance flows going, which I think really then puts this into a very detailed implementation. So we are ongoing, and we're signing a number of cities for this work, supported by the UK government. We do have some grants for implementation for piloting of new technologies, so we can also help the cities look into that offer as well. And then, as you may know, IFC has also launched the nature-based finance taxonomies. So again, the idea is that cities that are doing this work and they want to look at nature-based solutions, this doesn't have to be just grants or kind of that CSR approach, this is something that can be a financial tool because there are investors who want to purchase, let's say, a nature-based bond that the cities could be doing. So IFC has a lot of info that we can share, or we have been sharing rather, on this front.
Super, super. Thank you so much. This has been a tour de force and really, really amazing partners. I can only imagine a great portfolio of tons of different solutions. I know Lily wants thousands of cities to have at least heat assessments coming out of this, but it seems like there's a lot of different solutions that can support each other and be complementary, and I can't wait to see this kind of come into effect. I'm going to ask you all to turn on your cameras. Before I give the last words to Adalberto, I want you all to turn on your cameras for a photo, because we would love to take a minute to make sure that we all remember this moment, and to kind of ask you, as Lily said, to try to think for the next steps, how to best contribute to this collective effort. Let's do the picture, and then Adalberto can finish it up by telling us what the next steps are and how we can best come together again. Who is doing the picture? Elsa?
I have done one. I'm about to paste it here in the
Super.
chat. Thank
So
you.
we'll smile.
Well, I do it one again.
Gulnara.
Do we need to do one in like a together mode? Like, how do you get everybody in one screen?
Yeah, you have to do like 4 pictures, huh? Because you have 4.
Yeah, I don't know how you
no. If you do the large view, large gallery, you have everyone, I think.
You've done it. Okay. You're
Let
more
me send
clever
it.
than me.
I think I have
Super.
everyone.
Okay. That looks like.
Thank you. I've got it.
Thank you, Elsa. Excellency Adalberto, please, the floor is yours to close us up.
Thank you. Well, I'm very, very happy for today, despite, of course, my minor error here that I updated the wrong link after sending to everybody. But I'm glad that it worked out. I think, climate change is becoming so dramatically difficult for mayors to deal with that we need to find ways that we can have national governments, subnational governments, local leaderships, mayors, developers, private sector, everybody on board. Adaptation is probably one of the most difficult things, but we have to do adaptation and mitigation actions together. So I think this partnership together on the Mutirão for extreme heat could be a great way to move forward, because we have mitigation, we have adaptation, we bring all the multi-level governance structure needed. I think CHAMP has become one of the most important things for us here in Brazil. We are using CHAMP as a way to develop a lot of the things, and I think it makes sense globally to many different countries. Most of the institutions that I wanted to invite, and we invited, they kind of stole a little bit, like World Resource Institute, C40, ICLEI, all the resilience networks and IFC. And I really think that the C40, the Bloomberg Summit, the local leaders in Rio before COP could be the best place that we could really make a lot of, movements, bringing a lot of mayors. C40 is probably going to bring 300, 200 mayors already, so we can add up a lot of mayors there, have beautiful pictures. I talked to Mayor Pais already about this. So I think it would be really good if we can, as soon as possible, receive the information from all the partners, like what type of actions you could do, what type of support, how we can integrate all these efforts so that we can better coordinate. I think it was shared before, I think by Elsa or Lily, I don't remember, an email that people can share, right? I think somewhere it was there. But if not, on the emails here. So I'm very happy that everybody came. And just to close this last 2 minutes here, I would also like to invite Camila Valadares from COP Presidency to make her second and last remarks about the Mutirão process. Thank you.
Hello. So it's amazing to be here, and I'd like to thank you. This is a huge milestone. This is the real spirit of Mutirão, because it's not one or two organizations or people. It's a lot of people bring together solutions. And for the presidents of COP30, this initiative bring together what all the expertise and all the work that you are doing around the world, and it's essential to beat the heat and to beat the heat, not just this initiative, but to beat the heat around the world. So we know that each, as Adalberto said, it's a huge challenge for the mayors, and each country, each city has his particularly situations, and without your partnership, the things will not change. And we really believe it. So that's why this meeting is so huge and so important to change the world and to deliver and to build a new world, a new perspective, and to reach people and to show people that we are facing a huge crisis. So we want to that the president of COP30 wants that COP30 in Belém not to be remembered for negotiations, but for actions that resonates in the daily lives, right? So this is what this meeting means, and your work, your amazing work you are doing around the world means. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Camila, for your words. Powerful message from both of you. Thank you. And thanks everybody that showed up and gave us their time. And I am so honored that all of you were here today and that UNEP, the co-presidency, and the ministry has put the effort to pull us all together and leverage all this work to make everybody feel better, that actually things are happening and that we can actually push each other to make more things happen. Have a good evening and a good day and a good afternoon to you all. I want to make sure to thank Lily and Elsa and the whole team from UNEP that really worked hard to put this together. And goodbye to you all.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Big thanks to
Bye.
Adalberto and Camila.
Bye bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you,
Thank you all.
everyone.
Thank you, everybody.